Tēnā koutou, and welcome to this video on how to make a submission on Plan Change 120, Housing Intensification and Resilience. This video is intended to be a tool to assist Aucklanders who are wanting to make a submission. Submissions allow you to express your views on the plan change and to let Council know whether you support or oppose parts of the plan change and why. Before we get started, we would like to remind you of a few key matters. First, note that the submission period runs from the 3rd of November to 5 p.m. on the 19th of December 2025. Submissions will only be accepted during this time. Secondly, if you would like to further review the content of the plan change before making your submission, remember that all plan change materials are available on the Auckland Council Plan Change 120 webpage. There are also a series of information sheets and guidance materials available that provide an overview of some of the key changes proposed in Plan Change 120. Lastly, a Friend of Submitters service is also available, free of charge, to anyone who may be unsure of how they may make a submission. Further details of this service are available in Information Sheet number 2, Friend of the Submitter. This can be found on the Auckland Council Plan Change 120 webpage. You can access all plan change materials and submission forms through the Auckland Council website. From the homepage, search for Plan Change 120 in the search bar. In the search results, click on the box that says Plan Change 120 Housing Intensification and Resilience. This will take you to the web page for Plan Change 120, where you will find links to make a submission. Remember, submissions need to be made in the proper form in order to be properly documented and recorded through the process. This video will primarily talk through the electronic submission form. However, many of the same principles will apply if you are using the PDF submission form. If you are completing the PDF form, instructions on where to send your submission are available here on the web page. To make an electronic submission, click on the blue Make Submission button. Clicking on the link takes you to a new page, which tells you some important information you need to know before you start. Please take the time to read this carefully. Some submissions may be struck out if, for example, they are frivolous or vexatious or contain offensive language. Remember that by completing a submission form, your name, contact details, and submission will be made publicly available. This is because all submissions need to be attached to a submitter and need to be made available for transparency through the plan change process. You can see our privacy policy for more information. It will take about 10 minutes to complete the submission form, although it may take longer if you have more to say. It is recommended that you complete the submission form in one sitting to avoid having to restart the submission from scratch at a later point. When you are ready to start your submission, click the blue Start button at the bottom of the page. This will take you to the first page of the submission form, which will ask you to fill out your contact details. Remember that your name, contact details, and submission will be made publicly available. Note that some fields in the submission form have an asterisk next to them. This means you need to complete these fields in order to move on to the next step in making your submission. If you are submitting on behalf of an organisation or community group, make sure to tell us in the relevant field. Once you have completed all relevant fields, click the blue button at the bottom of the page to move to the next page of the submission form. Remember, you will not be able to move on to the next page until you have completed all fields marked with an asterisk. Page 2 of the submission form will contain most of the content of your submission. The fields currently outlined in red are where you tell us what your submission relates to, such as a particular provision or provisions, a property address, or a map. When completing these fields, make sure you are as specific as you can be. This will ensure that your submission is properly coded and recorded against the appropriate plan change topic. As an example, if your submission related to changes proposed to Objective H6.2 (bracket 2) in the residential, terraced housing and apartment building zone, you should note this down in the submission form. Note in this example, this provision has been referenced in the relevant field in the form. If your submission point is broader, then make sure that this is clear in the relevant field. As another example, it may be that your submission relates to the mixed housing urban zone in its entirety, in which case you can enter this into the relevant field. If your submission relates to a specific rule or rules, you will need to enter this into the first box. Again, try to make it clear what rule or rules you are referring to. The next area of the submission form asks what you are seeking by making a submission. Here, you can tell the Council whether you would like the plan change approved or declined, with or without amendments. To do this, click the circle next to the statement that best describes what you are seeking. Remember that the asterisk means you need to complete this field to move on to the next step of the submission. You are also asked to explain what your reasons are for what you are seeking. Again, make sure this is clear to assist the Council in understanding and considering your submission. If you are suggesting amendments to provisions, you will want to specify this here. Lastly, you can upload supporting information by adding files or dragging and dropping. You will only be able to upload a maximum of 3 documents, and all 3 files together need to be no larger than 20 megabytes. If you need to submit more supporting information or larger documents, it is recommended that you use the PDF submission form and email this along with the supporting information to the email address specified here. Once this page is completed, hit the blue button to move to the next step. Step 3 of the submission form asks if you wish to be heard. In other words, if you want to attend a hearing and present your submission. Hearings will be held at a later date in front of an independent hearings panel that will make recommendations back to the Council on submissions. If you would like to be heard by the independent hearings panel, or if you have experts that you would like to be heard, hit yes. If not, hit no. If you hit yes, you will be prompted to enter your phone number to be contacted about the hearing process. You will also be asked whether you would consider presenting a joint case at hearing if there are other submitters with similar submission points. The last step of the submission is the declaration. Here, you will need to let the Council know if you could gain an advantage in trade competition through this submission, and if you consider yourself to be directly affected. Hit yes or no for each of these questions, and then ensure you tick the box to acknowledge that you accept that your submission will be made public. Once complete, hit the blue Finish button to complete your submission. You will then be directed to a web page acknowledging that you have made your submission. Congratulations! You will receive an email confirmation within 30 minutes of submitting the form, which contains a copy of your submission for your records. The Council team will also email you within 10 working days to acknowledge receipt of your submission. If you do not see this screen after completing the submission form, then the submission did not go through, and you will need to re-lodge your submission. As a reminder, if you would like to mail or email a submission to the Council, use the PDF form and the mailing and email addresses listed on the Plan Change 120 webpage. The PDF form contains the same information as that has been covered here. Thanks for watching this video on how to make a submission on Plan Change 120. For more information about Plan Change 120, visit the Auckland Council webpage or click on the link shown here.